Hello Cherries fans, happy Tuesday, welcome to Back of the Net. Did you enjoy the football and the boxing at the weekend? Me too, in a way. No I did, I loved it. I'm Sam Davis.
My name's Tom Jordan.
I'm Tigz.
And this is Back of the Net. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, then I don't really know what you're doing.
What are they doing?
Leave now.
No, don't leave, subscribe. That's what we want.
Yeah. There's a button they can press, right? It's a red one, is it?
Yeah, a little red thingy down there. It just says subscribe.
Yeah.
It's actually really annoying if you don't click it because it's just a red button when you try and watch the video. Just click it, get it done.
We've been looking through the stats and 40% of people who view our videos aren't subscribers, so you're just passing by. We've got some of the best vlogs in the Premier League. What are you up to? Anyway, this video is all about what you can expect from Bournemouth this season. So if you're a fan of another club, you might want to take note. If you're a manager of another club, wow, you've come to us.
Hi Eddie.
Hi Eddie, how you doing? So we've got 10 things the Premier League should expect to see from AFC Bournemouth in 22-23 season, and the first of which, Tom, seems to be a bit of a shape changer at the back.
Yeah, it looks like a back five, doesn't it? That's what we're anticipating. Probably wouldn't have thought we'd be saying this when the last season ended. But, you know, having said that, I'm not going into it kind of really frustrated about a change of system because I've said a few times off air, and I was chatting to Tigz about it, that he's got that experience with Fulham, Scott Parker, and they went down.
Yeah.
So he's got good experience in the sense that, right, what did I do wrong? What do I need to change? And he's obviously looked at that, and certainly we're going to have a lot less of the ball, and maybe he's looking at that as an option. Maybe he's looking at the fact that we don't have a great deal of centre-halves at the moment, and could do with another body there. It allows the wing-backs to get forward, etc., that I'm sure we'll go on to. But yeah, it looks like a change of system, expecting that back 5/back 3, but certainly 3 centre-halves to be playing, which hopefully will make us harder to break down off the ball. But yeah, if you're an opposition fan, you look at us from last season where we rarely played that.
Yeah.
I expect a change there.
And something we rarely played in the Premier League when we were last in the Premier League. We never did it, did we? Unless we played like Man City.
Yeah, Eddie would sometimes change.
He'd like stick an extra man in the middle there at the back, wouldn't he? But that's it. So it's not something that, you know, if you played against us last season, Premier League fans, you probably, or not last season, last time in the Premier League, not something you'd really expect from us to play in that kind of way, but definitely seems to be the way that our pre-season is heating up to look.
But I thought that teams that change their style and change their formation when they get promoted to the Premier League generally fare worse than what they do if they stick to their philosophy, aka when we first went up, like Brentford, etc.
Yeah.
Could this be a dangerous thing to do?
It could be a dangerous thing to do. It depends on how much it changes. Now, in reality, what we're saying is we're going to take one of our central midfielders and we're going to pull them back, aren't we, into a defender role, which we have been sort of playing with last season. We've set our pre-season, but I think in terms of principles, in terms of the way that we play with the ball, in terms of keeping the ball, in terms of like keeping a, I won't go into too much, it will spoil the other numbers coming up, but the way that we play football, I think pretty much stays the same. It's just the shape of the team that changes.
Yeah, agreed. And I think if any Premier League fans are expecting the same Bournemouth as they had last time, you're not going to get that. We've got a different manager, we've got a completely different squad and way of playing, and this is one of them things really. I think we'll go into it with a slightly different system.
Point number 2 then, with this in mind, Tom, we've got down as a point mid-game formation flexibility, something that perhaps we maybe didn't have last time in the Premier League as much.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. We kind of went in that with that 4-4-2, 4-4-1-1, and that was kind of the way we played, and it was kind of last gasp if we changed anything. But with this change of system, Tigz mentioned it there. If we're gonna drag a midfielder into that back 3, potentially a Jefferson Lerma, for example, it's quite natural for him to then move a few yards and get back into that defensive midfield role. I think actually there was a game last season, Swansea rings a bell at me, in the home game where we started really poorly and he moved Lerma back because we were struggling in wide areas and made our fullbacks wing-backs, so we ended up winning 4-0 and he could move him back, and Lerma could do that equally kind of on that right side. Smithy's got the experience, plays a right centre-back, but then if we wanted to stretch him out, we could do that. We've got players like Ryan Christie ahead of him that can play on the right wing but are not really a winger, comfortable moving inside. So we've got a lot of flexibility there. Billings played deeper, but then he's shown that he could do it further forward. So we have got a lot of flexibility in the roles, and we're bringing in players that have got versatility and means we can move around and And Scott has shown that. He did show that in the Championship. Yeah, it wasn't. We didn't overdo that through at the back a lot, but there were always in-game little tweaks, and I think you could expect to see that. I think we've got a lot of players that can fill in loads of different roles, so you could see a lot of changes mid-game, I think.
Okay, so Tigz, we've got players starting the season in unconventional positions, and that's what we're seeing in some of the friendlies so far. And Tom alluded to it there. Jefferson Lerma being pulled back into a position that's deeper than he was. Phil Bill in the Bristol City friendly, at least, started the game much deeper in that almost a double pivot with Lewis Cook. We could be seeing a bit of that.
Yeah, I think my opinion is, or the way that I've seen things go, is that Parker expects players to be able to play in more than one position. He tries players out in lots of positions, and he says, look, wherever you're playing on the pitch, these are the principles that I expect you to stick to anyway. And
do you think the signings that we've got maybe back that up, compound that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at Fredericks, we know that he can play probably either on either side potentially, but definitely anyway up and down that kind of left. And then you've got also Rothwell, he can play in a number of positions. So yeah, definitely. And if Tavernier as well is another one who can play on the left or in the centre. So adaptability is key, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think we saw that a little bit last season, didn't we? You saw some of the signings, Christie, winger that can play inside quite comfortably, Lowe that can play up top but could play off either side. He brought him in. He even brought Cantwell in for a short-term loan who could play wide, played in the hole. So he certainly likes players, as Tigz said, to, as long as you know the philosophy, as long as you know the way of playing, you should be able to fill in a few roles. And I like that. I like that because it, as we said, it can mean you can change things, and it also means that it might look unfamiliar, but these players are getting work to be able to do a lot of different roles during the game. So yeah, that could be a good thing, I'd say.
Point number 4. Last time when we were in the Premier League, do you remember how exciting we were to watch? We were gung-ho. If you score 3, we'll score 4. That happened at West Ham. This time, though, I'm guessing it's going to be a bit more pragmatic, a bit more patient, a bit more conservative. There's not going to be too much. Bournemouth got tagged with the brand exciting and thrilling to watch. This time, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I mean, Parker as a player was reasonably conservative, wasn't he? And disciplined in his approach, and that's his expectation. So it's not, and this is what Fulham fans will tell you, to be fair as well, is that it's about holding on to the ball and taking your chances when you get them, but not diverting too much from what is expected in terms of that system. So yeah, a very pragmatic, very patient, very conservative approach. We started to develop, I know that we're looking at probably a formation change, but we started to develop this kind of horseshoe shape, didn't we, at the end of last season, where you kind of knew where everyone would be because you're passing the ball around there, waiting for that opportunity, waiting for that opening, which in the Championship we were able to take, which is fantastic.
I think like you said, Sam, yes, we were looked at as exciting and thrilling to watch under Eddie in the Premier League, but equally we were also called naive when we got beaten. And I think it's the world of a football fan. I remember, I mean, obviously adored Eddie, but I remember a few seasons into the Premier League, people going, yeah, it's good to watch, but we need to be a little bit more organised and disciplined and harder to beat. And now we are like that. Everyone's going, yeah, but we need to be more exciting. So, let's not be too fickle about it. I think I think this is just proving how, when you're not one of the big boys, it's very hard to get the balance. And we've had two managers that, very different. But, we done well under Eddie and we enjoyed it, but equally there were times where you thought, oh, we're a bit open here. And it's going to be the reverse of that. But I think if there's any other Premier League fans watching that aren't Bournemouth, you don't expect, I said it earlier, don't expect it to be the Eddie Howe. It's probably almost going to be the opposite. But we were, a lot of the time, I remember on Match of the Day in different places called naive when we get a thump in now and again and too open, and I don't think we'll be that. So it's just going to be the other side of it. It's going to be weird because I think last time when we went up, I thought, are we going to concede too many? And now I'm thinking, are we going to score enough? Very different, but interesting.
Our transfer policy, point 5, is going to be very different to what it was last time. Tigz, last time, Nathan Ake for nearly 20 million or whatever it was, and then Jefferson Lerma for 25/30 million. This time round, you get the sense that that's not going to happen.
You get the sense that that's not the priority anymore. I mean, I think under Eddie and Maxine Devin definitely wanted Premier League football at all costs. So, you strengthen the squad, you spend the money, and you make sure that you're in the Premier League the season following. That seems to have drifted. away from that, we've got other things we want to spend our money on now.
Isn't that weird though? Because I thought it was Eddie that was the one always pushing the legacy.
Yeah, true.
It's under Parker that the legacy is actually being built in terms of the training ground, and that's blamed as one of the reasons why we're not going to be ploughing in lots and lots of money into individual signings. Yes, Tavernier for 10 million is a lot, but you could say that that's offset by his age, because young English players do seem to go for a lot, but they retain their value as well.
I think as well, our owner, I won't get into it too much, there's other videos you can watch about this, we've done lots, has pumped quite a lot of money into our football club already. There's got to be a limit to which you go, do you know what, I don't think I want to pop any more in just right now. He did a great job with us, or we did a great job in the January transfer window to kind of just get us over that line and make sure we definitely got promoted without any worries. So I think if there was a potentially January, if we're in a situation where, look, we're not far from safety here, all we need to do is spend, a little bit more money and we can maybe, assure our safety in the Premier League, then I think he'd do it. But I think he now is a bit more pragmatic, a little bit more conservative, a little bit more thoughtful in the way that he's going about things and the way that we spend our money as a football club. So I think the 2 and 2 come hand together. It's probably one of the reasons why we sort of courted Scott Parker for so long, because we wanted him when he was Fulham manager, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was one of the points we mentioned, that he's good. He's a good man manager with the younger players. Like, he's an advocate of the youth, and that's where it could be: youth, loans, freebies, and like we say, low risk transfers. Tom.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think like this legacy, I think we all want the kind of the trainer facilities and things like that. We need to have something to show for it a little bit, of getting to the Premier League. And I do feel, I don't want it to sound too negative, but it does feel a little bit more like, right, we've got Scott, have you got a squad that can compete? Yeah, but it's going to be tough. But if we were to go down, but we've done a bit on the training facility, could you bounce back up, do you reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd be one of the top boys.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we might have to take a step back and then bounce back again. Maybe. Because put it this way, if we were to go down, even if we lost some key players, we should have a squad to go straight back. And Burnley have done that very successfully, for example. I know Norwich are very bouncy. So yeah, it might be looked at that a little bit, and maybe before, once we had a few seasons in the Premier League, maybe we sat back a little bit and thought, God, with the Messiah and Eddie, and we're just going to keep growing. And it doesn't always work like that. But yeah, I do think we're going to go a little bit more low risk when it comes to splashing cash.
I'll stick with you for the next one, Tom. Point 6, high press we've got. But do we do that, the high press?
I think we certainly tried to do that. I think there was a number of goals last season that I can think off the top of my head that were initiated by a high press of teams, us included, like to play from the back, which I'm sure we'll come on to. And you want your players to initiate that right. As soon as they play off the keeper and start playing out, Dom go. I think last season it was more Dom go, Jaden go, Phil Billing go. And there were a lot of goals that we nicked the ball off centre halves and stuff and managed to break on them. And I like to think we'll still do that. We've got a lot of younger, energetic players that I think like to play on that front foot, and you can nick the ball off teams. I think we're not going to be the only team that do that, but I certainly think that's something that we've always tried to do. Be very high press in the foot. Don't let the transitions come onto you. You don't want them to play a couple of passes and they're in on your back 4/back 5. You want to be able to try and nick it off them high up the pitch, and I think we always felt Billing in particular would try and do that. And even though he was a central midfield player, he was virtually, when they were playing from the back, he'd virtually be alongside Dom trying to initiate that. So I think we'll definitely try and do that if we can, and push everyone up the pitch when the opposition have got the ball. And if they break that, because that's going to happen now and again, if they break that press, then that's where your free centre halves can drop a bit deeper, and you can try and organise yourselves like that. But yeah, I think we'll certainly try and continue with that press. I'd like to think so anyway.
So point 7 is about the natural width that we've got in the squad, and the fact that the change of formation might, Tigz, lend to the fact that we could have more. So for instance, the wing backs will be utilised a hell of a lot, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on the likes of Jack Stacey or Adam Smith or Fredericks if he's over that side, and also Jordan Zamora on the left hand side to be bombing up and down.
Yeah, I think in attack, definitely. I think that'll definitely be the way that we look to go, is to kind of release those players and make sure that they're able to use their pace and they're able to whip balls in, or actually probably pass balls in and cut inside, because there was that was a big sort of favour of Parker early on, was players who can, once they get up, cut in, because a lot of our players will be in the centre of the field probably, more than likely. But then on the other hand, that is then going to cause us a problem potentially in defence, in that we're going to have a lack of width in defending players that come down at us.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think Tigz is right, and I think the wing backs are certainly going to be asked to provide the width, because I think looking at our squad, particularly if you're not a Bournemouth fan, we haven't got natural wingers. If we were talking about it, I think Dembele and Anthony.
Yeah,
probably about.
I mean, Chrissy can play wide, Stanislas can play wide, Brooks can play wide. Are they natural wingers? No. But is someone like a Jordan Zamora an absolute, engine, and Jack Stacey, the engines that can get forward? Yes. And maybe he's thinking they could provide that width, and having that back three can mean that we can allow that a little bit. It might even be that a lot of people have done it with that kind of elbow tactic. If Zamora were to bomb on down that left side, Smith tucks in on the other side, and it kind of all goes like that. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of that. I think the Bristol City game in particular, I think Zamora was, his heat map and stuff, he's so far forward, he's virtually ahead of Solanke. So they're going to be used the width, and that's because I think in attacking areas we're going to be quite narrow. We've got Rothwell, Billin, Lewis Cook, Christie. They're all quite compact, and I think I think you were saying, Tigz, that the Fulham were very similar, and they had Sessegnon with Parker, who would be that Zamora, if you like, and then in the middle of the pitch they try and be quite compact. So yeah, it wouldn't shock me if we try and go up the Dom Solanke, and then that's the key of right wing backs go potentially. So yeah, we haven't got natural wingers. It remains to be seen if we sign any more before the season starts, but for now I think the width is probably going to come from them wing backs.
Point 8 of what you can expect from AFC Bournemouth this season: we play from the back with pace in attack. I won't finish that song, but that is what we do. It's the patient approach.
Yeah, I mean, when we say pace, we don't necessarily mean fast pace. But yes, there is definitely a pace in our attack. It's a little bit, slow, fast, slow. But yeah, I mean, this is interesting. This is kind of linking into recruitment as well, though, because we do need to strengthen a little bit at centre-back in order to play in this way. But it seems to be that this is Parker's preferred way of doing things, is that he wants his defenders to come forward the ball, and the centre-backs to be able to play with their feet and pass the ball out to the midfield for them to then collect and move on. So it's definitely the way that we expect us to see us play, recruitment pending.
Yeah, I think it's also, you play from the back, and then you have someone like Lewis Cook, for example, to drop deep and get it off the centre halves, and we go from there, rather than kind of, I think some teams maybe go wide and come in. We like to gradually set it up from the back, and trust me, we're quite comfortable with going to a centre half and then going, is the option on? No, we're going to the other centre half. No, we'll go back to the other centre half. But I think we're not the only team. A lot of teams are going with that approach now. I think Pep was probably one of the first to really bring that in, and goalkeepers now in particular. I think we spoke on previous shows about we've maybe tried to upgrade the goalkeeper mainly on the feet. But Travers has shown that he can do that now. I think that was probably the thing that was lurking over him a little bit. But he's always told to play from the back. And yeah, there's a lot of responsibility on Lloyd Kelly to start attacks, which is not always the case for a lot of teams. But we certainly rely on our centre halves to kind of start attacks.
Which might be why we're seeing one of our midfielders be dropped back, Jefferson Lerma, who's very comfortable on the ball. He could play in that position as well, potentially. Yeah,
one of my concerns, which was answered by your previous point about what do you call it, the elbow sort of...
Elbow tactic.
Yeah, the elbow tactic. And that's what, when, say, Jordan Zamora on like one of the sides was going forward, they pulled across. I thought that having three at the back, it would be a bit too congested to play this kind of tiki-taka stuff. But it's quite spread out, depending on where the ball is. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. The only concern I have is the personnel that we've got. Lloyd Kelly, I'd say, is okay on the ball, but then some of his partners defensively have shown that they can have a mistake in them.
Of course.
And that is always my concern. You have to have players that are confident.
To play that way, you've got to be confident on the ball. But I'd also say players that play in that role and play for that, they're always going to make the odd mistake, because it's very brave for the old school centre half. And I mean, John Stones is known from playing at the back and making errors. And that's I always thought it was Meps.
True.
Chris Mepham, who obviously might start the season for us. Yes, he's made a lot of errors, but that's because he's very brave. You very rarely see Chris Mepham kick the ball long. So I think that's why Eddie originally brought him in, and why Scott's trying to use him, because he will try and do that, and he will try and get you up the pitch, and he will take risk. And of course that's a risk, but it's a calculated risk because of the way you want to play. But as you said, mate, I think we'll look from the goalkeeper. The wing backs will probably go when Mark Travers has the ball in goal. They'll go and they'll try and stretch us, and it'll be more the back three. Lewis Cook dropping deep. We'll play from there. and see what happens. But yeah, we personnel wise, maybe we need a few more bodies back there that are a bit more natural at it to help us. But I'm sure that's what we'll be working on.
Point number 9. What can you expect from AFC Bournemouth? It will be our striker Dom Solanke to be dropping quite a bit deeper than some people might expect.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? I mean, he's a linchpin. I can't really put it any differently than that. I think he's just, everything good goes through Dom Solanke, and he has been almost solely responsible for quite a few goals that he started and finished. So he does a little bit of everything for us, and we need him. And because of that, he has to drop deep. He has to get involved. He needs to start off the play quite often. But then, of course, he pulls the defender with him, so it creates space, and it works for us.
Yeah, no, and we were saying that, Scott before with Mitrovic, I know there's a lot of talk about it that, why didn't he use Mitrovic? And I think that's probably the reason, and this is not me having a dig of who's better or whatever. Mitrovic's a hell of a striker, but he doesn't do that side of the game as much, dropping deep. And obviously he proved last season, and in teams that, work to his strengths, he doesn't need to. But in the way that Scott wants to play and the players that we've got, he needs Dom to drop off. And I've had so many chats about how good Dom was last season, and people go, oh yeah, because of all the goals he scored. Yeah, but he wasn't even playing. He was playing as a false 9.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how he got 30 goals in all competitions, because he was rarely up top as a natural 9. So I think what's key is if you have a player that's dropping that deep, one, obviously you need to get wingers, wing-backs far forward, but you also need a midfield player that can get beyond. Yeah. And last season we had Billing doing it so well.
Really
and
well.
What I will say is this season, as much as we've maybe not strengthened as much as we thought, maybe we're hoping Rothwell could also do that, and that's another player that can do that. You need players that can get beyond. If you've got strikers that drop deep, you've got to have players that can get beyond. Go to England in tournaments, Harry Kane likes to do that.
Yeah.
Sterling's gone. For Tottenham, Son's gone. Kane's irrelevant if you've got no one going in behind.
Yeah.
I think West Ham also done it as well, with Antonio dropping deep and Bowen going. You've got to have someone that can go in beyond, otherwise Dom's coming short, but there's nowhere to go because your striker's out of it, so you've got no one in behind the defenders. But sometimes it can be a detriment because you've got no focal point, but equally it can also pull defenders here, there and everywhere. Defenders are much more happy to just sit there and stand on a centre forward.
Yeah.
He will take that position, but Dom's asked to do a hell of a lot, isn't he? So hopefully we get another season of him with no injuries, mate, because I do worry about that.
And that links in with our point number 10. One of the final things you can expect is Bournemouth to actually have a plan B, which is one of the criticisms we had during our last Premier League tenure. But there are many options, including sticking Kiefer Moore up there.
Well, I mean,
reverting to a 4 at the back. There's quite a few things we could do now to mix it up.
I mean, the forward thing's interesting because, it's like we were just talking about, it leads on so naturally. Talking about Dom, and if Dom has to come off the pitch, you haven't got another Dom Solanke. No. But what you have got is a completely different type of striker in Kiefer Moore, who has been really exciting. And for us, he's got us over the line. Let's say that signing was incredible in January. Incredible. The fact that he got him, that he can do that, and he can actually, he plays some nice stuff with his feet as well. Let's not just think he's not a lump it to him kind of player. So he can do a lot of things. So that's really exciting. And also, you're right. I mean, this whole conversation is kind of focused around the fact that Parker likes to be able to change things throughout a game, and we've got the personnel that can do that.
Yeah, that's definitely a plus point, and I think, like we said, there's no real natural replacement to Dom in particular, so it means you have to change, which means you've got a plan B, but it also means, without Dom Solanke, a lot of things break down. I remember that in the cup games, were obviously the only time we rested him, and it was before Kiefer was available. We went Jamal Lowe, who we know is a good player, scores goals, and there was no cup game. We beat Yeovil, but we weren't great. We lost to Boreham Wood, and we got battered to Norwich, because we never looked right, because we had to change the whole way we played. But we didn't have Kiefer Moore, and I think Kiefer Moore allows us to change in a positive aspect in game, definitely. And I think we can look at reverse on plan B, and we spoke in previous videos about Ben Pearson, for example. Didn't play loads of minutes last season, but if we are hopefully in a good position where we're leading a game, he's a very good player to come on off the ball. And I think we've got a lot of players that off the ball are very good, and we can come on and change the game like that, and we can kind of go, right, Billing, you've been great today, you've helped us get this two-goal lead, but right now they're going to have a lot of the ball. Pearson, get on there, make yourself nasty, make it hard to break down. So there's that reverse side of it as well, where from a defensive point of view, we can be harder to break down as well, and we can maybe tuck the wing back / fullbacks in. We can take Jay-Z off. We can move Smithy over there and just sit there.
Yeah.
Stacey can come on. So we have got options from a defensive point of view as a plan B as well. So that's definitely a positive. I think there's a lot of change in there. It's just it's probably just making sure that plan A is executed to the best. You don't want to be changing too much.
No.
But it's nice to have that flexibility within the system for sure.
So there we go. 10 things that you can expect to see from AFC Bournemouth this season. What else can you expect? Let us know. If you think...
Hell of a stadium. Enjoy the shed.
Raucous atmosphere. We'll bring out our Twitter bingo, I'm sure, at some point this season with all the put-downs that we get.
Well, speaking of which, boys, how's your retirement going?
Yeah, it's good.
All right.
I always come down in a retire.
Been retired for 50 years now.
Yeah,
it's great.
I started early because I thought if I just stay in Bournemouth early, this is the place to retire.
Yeah, apparently.
So,
yeah.
That's all you need.
But, I was going to go to Brighton, but we've got real sound on our beach.
So, look, the preview content is starting very, very soon. And from there, it's all about the matches themselves. So, wow, the back of the net content. Vlogs. We've got the second looks. We've got the away day review shows for when we play away. Previews. Premier League show. Preview. Free-for-alls after every game. We'll be doing a global free-for-all so you can get in touch every so often as well.
We're massive, by the way. If you're not aboard, we have to go global sometimes because we're a massive club, so we have to reach out to all the fan base. It's difficult being a Bournemouth fan.
There's the button. Click it.
It's massive, isn't it?
It is difficult. Make sure you click the like button as well. But from myself, Sam Davis.
From me, Tom Jordan.
And from Tigz.
Up the cherries. See you in the next one.
See you later.
Cheers.